Russia and Ukraine have started their first face-to-face peace talks in 3 years, but hopes for a breakthrough remain bleak, with both presidents notably absent. Delegates from Russia and Ukraine taking a step forward with direct talks in Istanbul, the two sides meeting for the first time after more than 3 years of war. The Ukrainian delegation, led by Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, sat face-to-face with Russia's team headed by senior aide Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Host country Türkiye says it's critical a ceasefire happens as soon as possible, and that talks should form the basis of a meeting between leaders. The U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio earlier told his Ukrainian and Turkish officials that the killing needs to stop. Mr. Rubio has described the current state of affairs as a logjam that only the U.S. President Donald Trump can break. The U.S. leader says he will like to meet Mr. Putin as soon as they can arrange that. Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelenskyy yesterday slamming the Russian president's absence in Türkiye, accusing Moscow of not making efforts to end the war. He says his team had a mandate to discuss an unconditional ceasefire. That's a proposal that Mr. Putin has repeatedly rejected. And more, Ross Cullen joins us live from Istanbul. Ross, Turkish foreign ministry reporting that those talks between Russia and Ukraine have ended. Of course, the warning ahead of these talks was not to expect too much to come out of them. Have you heard any outcomes just yet?
Yeah, that's right, Wei Su. So I'm just following some of those reports that are coming out now. That breaking line that the delegations have taken a break from their negotiations is what one source is saying. Another source is saying that the meeting has already ended. It has completely finished. The other sources suggesting there could be a break. Maybe they will come back for further discussions later in the day. Those competing sources in Russian media are coming from the Turkish Foreign Ministry as well. We will see if anything comes out of it, because it does seem unlikely that there would be a compromise for a ceasefire, for example, because Russia has made it very clear that it wants a constructive approach and it will be committed to such an approach. But it feels there are many issues that need to be discussed at a technical level before they can reach the conversation about a ceasefire. Now, Ukraine, Turkey, the United States, the European Union and China all support an immediate introduction of an unconditional ceasefire. So it is only Russia that has not yet signed up to agreeing to introduce a halt to the fighting. Earlier, at the start of that meeting, we had Hakan Fidan, who's the Turkish foreign minister, speaking, and he said there are only two paths available: the path of peace or the path that leads to more destruction. He said that Turkey is continuing with genuine efforts and it's sparing no effort to try to bring an end to the conflict. He said that establishing a ceasefire is a must, and this is a good opportunity to achieve it, these talks in Istanbul today. He did also say that the negotiations should and perhaps could culminate in a meeting between the two heads of state, Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Vladimir Putin. Now, we are watching another possible meeting of Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, but that is interesting that he suggested there could be a meeting between the two leaders, because that's what Volodymyr Zelenskyy wanted. The Ukrainian leader was here in Turkey. He said, "Are we waiting for Vladimir Putin?" hoping for a face-to-face, hoping for high-level talks at presidential level, and the Russian leader chose not to come to Turkey to engage directly with his Ukrainian counterpart. I can just also say that there is another line that's coming through, that they are contradicting themselves at the moment, and I've got another line that says they have taken another break. So we'll wait to see if they have stopped for a lunch or coffee break, or if they have managed to wrap up earlier than expected.
So, Ross, if we can read between the lines there, whatever the differences are, they're only likely to be settled if not just senior officials, but the most senior officials. That means the presidents are in the room looking at each other, and that's specifically President Donald Trump and President Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, that's right. At the highest level was what Ukraine said it was ready to do yesterday and today here in Turkey. We've already heard earlier today from Andriy Yermak, who's the chief of staff to Volodymyr Zelenskyy, saying we are ready to negotiate at the top level with presidential approval. That's something that Volodymyr Zelenskyy was hoping to achieve here, and he didn't. However, the Kremlin today have been favourable in the idea that there could be a summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Dmitry Peskov, who is the chief press spokesman, saying that a meeting between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump is necessary. A serious conversation about international affairs is needed, including what he calls the Ukrainian crisis, and saying that contacts between Putin and Trump are extremely important in the context of the Ukrainian settlement. And we know exactly where the US leader stands on all of this. He says that he feared that nothing was going to get done on the war in Ukraine until he met with Vladimir Putin. And it was those comments yesterday that led to Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, giving a gloomy forecast of what he thought was going to come out of these talks because of the need to move forward at presidential level. And Donald Trump also saying, just before he departed the Gulf region after his tour of nations there, he said that I think it's time for us to just do it as soon as we can set it up. So that would be a major step in this process if Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump can have a summit to discuss bringing this war to a close. Wei Su?
Oh, thanks. Ross Cullen there reporting live from Istanbul.